Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to show some wrist mobilization techniques and some stretches in the forearm and stretches in the wrist that can help you alleviate pain that could be coming from the forearm or even from the wrist that's causing pain in this area. Now, these mobilization techniques and stretches are going to prevent you from RSI, which is repetitive strain injury, and carpal tunnel syndrome. So alleviate the pain from there or even prevent you from getting these issues. Now, if you're finding that you're losing a lot of grip strength from, for example, sports, for example, golf or even tennis, these stretches and mobilization techniques are going to help you regain that grip strength once again, and even alleviate the pain that you might be getting from golfer's elbow or tennis elbow. Try these stretches out. They're definitely going to help you.
Wrist waves. Interlace your fingers and create a wave back and forth with your wrist and hands. Try to exaggerate each wrist extension and wrist flexion on each movement. Do this nice and slow and in a controlled manner. Do about 20 to 30 reps, 3 to 4 sets. Wrist rolls. Once again, interlace your fingers and roll your wrist back and forth. It almost looks like a shape of a figure 8 or an infinity sign. Remember to do it forwards and also do it backwards as well. This will mobilize your fingers and your wrists. It will mobilize on the outside of your wrist and the inner portion of your wrist as well, which is the ulnar deviation and also radial deviation. Do this 20 to 30 reps on each direction and also repeat it 3 to 4 sets. Ulnar and radial distractions. Grab the end of the wrist with the other hand and slightly pull the wrist joint apart. This will create a small gap in the hip joint. Now move the hip joint back and forth side to side, creating what is called radial and ulnar deviation. This is a great mobilization technique as it can reduce pain and stiffness at the base of the inner and outer sides of the wrist joints. The type of pain and stiffness that I'm talking about is normally caused by repetitive movements such as keyboard work, also known as RSI, aka repetitive strain injury, or another one such as carpal tunnel syndrome. Passive wrist flexion and extension. To stretch your wrist flexors, point your fingers up and your elbows extended nice and straight. Now with the other hand, pull your stretching hand's fingers backwards towards your body. Make sure you have a nice and relaxed wrist to promote as much movement and stretching possible. Now to stretch the wrist extensors, point your fingers downwards and pull the hand back towards your body. This will promote wrist flexion but will stretch the wrist extensors. Make sure your arm is nice and straight and your elbow is locked out. This is a great way to mobilize and stretch the wrist for any wrist demanding movement tasks, for example gymnastics, yoga, Olympic weightlifting, woodworking, or any repetitive strain inducing tasks such as desk work. Body weighted wrist stretches. To stretch the wrist flexors, find a table or bench and place the palm of your hand on top of the table and lean your body weight on them. This should create a slight stretch already. If you still don't feel the stretch, slightly lean forward with your body weight until you feel a slight stretch in the back of your wrist or in the inner portion of your forearm. Now, if you don't feel any pain or severe pain, you are now ready to lean side to side, nice and slow. This will mobilize your wrist and wrist extension and also stretch out the wrist flexor muscle. To stretch your wrist extensors, place the back of your hand on a table or a bench with your elbow nice and straight and locked out. Now lean backwards with your body weight until you feel a stretch at the back of your hands or the back of your wrist. Once you feel comfortable and there's no severe pain, just slowly move side to side in a controlled manner. This will mobilize the wrist joint in flexion and also stretch out the wrist extensor muscles, which is located at the back of your forearm. This type of mobilization technique will stretch out the wrists and mobilize it in different angles and prepare them to be able and be ready to support any awkward angles of weight that is going to be placed on them. For example, handstands or even overhead weighted movements such as Olympic weightlifting. Move side to side for about 20 to 30 reps and repeat it 4 to 5 times. Tennis elbow and golfer's elbow stretch. To stretch your wrist and forearm muscles for tennis elbow, start by drawing a circle with your index finger from the outside of your body inwards. Now place the back of your hand on a bench in a rotated position. This will stretch a particular group of wrist extensor muscles and tendons that are affected by tennis elbow, also known as lateral epicondylitis. To stretch the forearm muscles for golfer's elbow, you're going to exaggerate a very slow wave so that palm of your hand lands on the tabletop and bench where your fingers points backwards. Now with your elbow extended and your arm nice and straight, lean backwards slowly and press in with your body weight. You should feel a stretch in the inner portion of your forearm and the back of your wrist. This will stretch the wrist flexor muscles and tendons that may be affected by medial epicondylitis, also known as golfer's elbow. Hold this stretch for about 30 seconds and repeat it 4 to 5 times. You can do this on both arms as it will still mobilize and stretch the wrist.
Once again guys, thanks for watching. Now if you do have wrist pain, there's a good chance that the pain could be coming from the rotator cuff muscles and referring pain down into the wrist. Or if you suffer from golfer's elbow or tennis elbow, the pain in the forearm can be referred down into the wrist as well. So I highly recommend you check out my other videos, for example the tennis elbow and golfer's elbow muscle release technique video, or check out my secret spot to fix the shoulder pain that could be referring down into your wrist. Remember to support my channel, hit subscribe, comment below if you have any questions, remember to hit that like button as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.